Imagine this. You're sitting across from someone you once thought was the one. The air between you is heavy, not with passion, but with the weight of unspoken disappointments. You replay the moments, the laughter, the promises, the shared dreams, and wonder how it all unraveled. You tell yourself it was bad timing, bad luck, or maybe just bad chemistry. But deep down, a quiet voice whispers, "This feels familiar. You've been here before, not with this person, but with the same patterns, the same pain, the same hollow realization that something is missing." You've walked away from relationships that drained you, only to find yourself drawn to the same kind of person again. You've tried to change yourself, to be more patient, more understanding, more forgiving, only to end up feeling like a stranger in your own life. And now, as you sit there, staring at the cracks in what you once thought was unbreakable, you can't help but ask, why do I keep choosing the wrong partner? It's a question that cuts deeper than it seems. On the surface, it's about love, about relationships, about the people we let into our lives. But beneath that lies something far more unsettling, a mirror reflecting the parts of ourselves we'd rather not see. Because the truth is, the partners we choose are not random. They are not accidents of fate or the whims of chance. They are in many ways a reflection of our deepest fears, our unmet needs, and the stories we tell ourselves about who we are and what we deserve. Consider this paradox. We are drawn to what feels familiar, even when it hurts us. We crave connection, yet we often seek it in places that leave us feeling more alone. We long for love, but we settle for patterns that keep us trapped in cycles of pain. Why? Why do we repeat the same mistakes, even when we know better? Why do we chase after people who cannot love us the way we need to be loved? The answer lies not in the partners we choose, but in the choices we make, and the forces that drive them. It lies in the shadows of our psyche and the stories we inherit and in the wounds we carry. It lies in the way we confuse love with longing, safety with stagnation, and passion with pain. And it lies in the uncomfortable truth that sometimes we choose the wrong partner because we are not yet the right person for ourselves. But this is not a story of despair. It is a story of awakening. Because the moment you ask why is the moment you begin to unravel the threads of your own narrative. It is the moment you start to see that the patterns in your relationships are not just about the people you choose, but about the choices you make and the beliefs that shape them. So let's begin here, in this space of uncomfortable questions and unspoken truths. Let's peel back the layers of your heart and mind, not to assign blame, but to uncover the hidden forces that have been guiding your choices. Let's explore the psychology of attraction, the philosophy of desire, and the societal pressures that shape our understanding of love. And let's confront the possibility that the key to finding the right partner lies not in changing who you're with, but in understanding who you are. Because the truth is, the partners we choose are not just a reflection of our desires. They are a reflection of our wounds. And until we heal those wounds, we will keep choosing the wrong partner, not because we don't know any better, but because we don't yet know ourselves. This is where the journey begins. Not with answers, but with questions. Not with certainty, but with curiosity. And not with blame, but with the courage to look inward and ask, what is it within me that keeps choosing this? The answer may surprise you, it may unsettle you, but it will also set you free. To understand why we keep choosing the wrong partner, we must first confront a difficult truth. Love is not just a feeling, it's a mirror. It reflects back to us the parts of ourselves we've hidden, ignored, or forgotten. And often what it reveals is not the polished, idealized version of who we are, but the raw, unhealed parts that we've buried beneath layers of denial and distraction. Carl Jung called this the shadow, the part of our psyche that contains everything we refuse to acknowledge about ourselves. It's the repository of our fears, our insecurities, our unmet needs, and our deepest wounds. And here's the unsettling part. We are often drawn to people who embody these hidden aspects of ourselves. We are attracted to those who reflect our shadow, not because we want to confront it, but because it feels familiar. It feels like home. Think about it. Have you ever found yourself drawn to someone who seemed to embody the very qualities you dislike in yourself? Maybe they were overly critical, and you realized later that you too struggle with self-criticism. Or perhaps they were emotionally unavailable, and you saw in them the same walls you've built around your own heart. This is not a coincidence. It's the shadow at work, pulling you toward what you need to heal, even if you don't yet realize it. But the shadow is only part of the story. There's also the role of attachment styles, a concept rooted in psychology that explains how our early relationships shape the way we connect with others. If you grew up in an environment where love was conditional, where you had to earn affection through achievement or compliance, you might find yourself drawn to partners who replicate that dynamic. You might mistake intensity for intimacy or chaos for passion, because that's what love felt like when you were young. And then there's the philosophical dimension. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote, "In the end, one loves one's desire and not the thing desired." This is a profound insight into the nature of human longing. Often, what we call love is not love at all, but a projection of our own unmet needs and desires. We fall in love with the idea of someone, with the potential we see in them, rather than the reality of who they are. And when the reality fails to match the fantasy, we feel betrayed, not by them, but by our own expectations. Arthur Schopenhauer took this idea even further. He argued that love is driven by what he called the will to life, a biological and metaphysical force that compels us to seek out partners who will help us propagate the species. According to Schopenhauer, this force is blind and irrational, leading us to make choices that serve the interests of nature rather than our own happiness. In other words, we are often drawn to people who are not good for us because our instincts are wired for survival, not fulfillment. But perhaps the most insidious force at play is cultural conditioning. From a young age, we are bombarded with messages about what love should look like. We are told that love is supposed to be dramatic, all-consuming, and transformative. We are taught to equate jealousy with passion, sacrifice with devotion, and suffering with depth. And so when we find ourselves in relationships that are chaotic or painful, we tell ourselves that this is what love is supposed to feel like. We confuse toxicity for intensity and dysfunction for depth. All of these forces, the shadow, attachment styles, the will to life, and cultural conditioning, conspire to shape our choices in ways we often don't understand. They create a kind of gravitational pull, drawing us toward the very people and patterns that keep us stuck. And until we become aware of these forces, we will continue to repeat the same mistakes, not because we are foolish or weak, but because we are human. But awareness is only the first step. To truly break free, we must go deeper. We must confront the unseen consequences of these patterns, the ways they shape not just our relationships, but our sense of self, our emotional well-being, and our capacity for growth. Because the truth is, the partners we choose are not just a reflection of our wounds, they are also a reflection of our potential. And until we understand the forces that drive our choices, we will remain trapped in cycles of pain, unable to see the path to freedom. The patterns we repeat in love don't just affect our relationships, they shape our entire lives. They seep into our sense of self, our emotional well-being, and even our ability to envision a future that feels fulfilling. The consequences of choosing the wrong partner are not always immediate or obvious. They accumulate slowly like sediment at the bottom of a river, until one day you realize you're drowning in a life that doesn't feel like your own. Consider the emotional toll. When you repeatedly choose partners who cannot meet your needs, you send yourself a silent but powerful message. You are not worthy of love as you are. Over time, this message becomes internalized. You start to believe that love is something you must earn, something you must fight for, something you must endure. You lower your standards, suppress your desires, and silence your voice, all in the hope of holding on to a connection that feels increasingly hollow. This is not just a personal tragedy, it's a psychological one. Studies have shown that chronic emotional neglect or abuse can lead to a phenomenon known as learned helplessness, where you begin to feel powerless to change your circumstances. You start to believe that this is just how life is, that this is all you deserve. And so, you stay in relationships that drain you, not because you want to, but because you've lost the belief that anything better is possible, but the consequences go even deeper. When you choose partners who reflect your wounds rather than your potential, you stunt your own growth. You become trapped in a cycle of repetition where every relationship feels like a variation of the same story. You don't learn new ways of connecting, new ways of loving, new ways of being. Instead, you remain stuck in old patterns, replaying the same dynamics, the same conflicts, the same disappointments. And then there's the societal dimension. The patterns we repeat in love don't exist in a vacuum. They are shaped by the world around us. We live in a culture that glorifies romantic love as the ultimate source of fulfillment, while simultaneously undermining our ability to achieve it. We are told that love should be effortless, that it should complete us, that it should make us whole. And when it doesn't, we blame ourselves. We think there must be something wrong with us rather than questioning the unrealistic expectations we've been sold. This cultural narrative is reinforced by cognitive biases that distort our perception of reality. For example, the sunk cost fallacy makes us reluctant to leave relationships that aren't working because we've already invested so much time and energy into them. The confirmation bias leads us to focus on the positive aspects of a relationship while ignoring the red flags. And the availability heuristic makes us more likely to choose partners who resemble past relationships, even if those relationships were unhealthy. All of these forces, emotional, psychological, and societal, conspire to keep us trapped in cycles of pain. They create a kind of feedback loop, where the more we repeat these patterns, the more entrenched they become. And the more entrenched they become, the harder it is to see a way out. But there is a way out. It begins with recognizing that the patterns we repeat in love are not just about the partners we choose. They are about the stories we tell ourselves. They are about the beliefs we've internalized, the wounds we've carried, and the fears we've avoided. And they are about the possibility of rewriting those stories, of healing those wounds, and of facing those fears. Because the truth is, the partners we choose are not just a reflection of our past, they are also a reflection of our potential. And until we confront the unseen consequences of these patterns, we will remain trapped in cycles of pain, unable to see the path to freedom. Breaking free from the cycle of choosing the wrong partner is not just about changing who you're with, it's about changing who you are. It's about rewriting the stories you've told yourself about love, worthiness, and what you deserve. It's about confronting the fears that have kept you trapped and embracing the vulnerability that comes with true connection. This is not a passive process. It is a rebellion, a radical act of self-reclamation. The first step in this rebellion is awareness. You must become a detective of your own heart, tracing the patterns of your past relationships to uncover the beliefs and wounds that have shaped them. Ask yourself, what do these relationships have in common? What role do I play in these dynamics? What am I afraid of losing if I walk away? These questions are not meant to assign blame, but to illuminate the hidden forces that have been guiding your choices. Once you've identified these patterns, the next step is interrogation. Challenge the beliefs that have kept you stuck. For example, if you've always believed that love requires sacrifice, ask yourself, who taught me that? Is it true? What would love look like if it didn't require me to abandon myself? This process of questioning can be uncomfortable, even painful, but it is necessary. It is the only way to dismantle the stories that no longer serve you. At the same time, you must begin the work of healing. This means confronting the wounds that have shaped your patterns, whether they stem from childhood, past relationships, or societal conditioning. It means learning to sit with your pain rather than running from it, and to offer yourself the compassion and understanding you've been seeking from others. This is not easy work, but it is essential. As Carl Jung once said, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." Part of this healing process involves redefining what love means to you. Too often we confuse love with attachment, with need, with the desire to be saved. But true love is not about finding someone to complete you, it's about finding someone to share your completeness with. It's about choosing a partner who sees you, values you, and challenges you to grow, rather than one who reinforces your wounds or validates your insecurities. This shift in perspective requires a radical act of self-love. You must learn to prioritize your own needs, to set boundaries, and to walk away from relationships that diminish you. This is not selfish, it is self-respect, and it is the foundation of any healthy relationship. As the philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre observed, freedom is what you do with what's been done to you. By choosing yourself, you reclaim your freedom. But breaking free is not just an internal process, it's also a practical one. It requires you to take action to make different choices and to step into the unknown. This might mean ending a relationship that no longer serves you, even if it's comfortable. It might mean being single for a while, even if it's lonely. It might mean seeking out therapy, joining a support group, or immersing yourself in practices that help you reconnect with yourself, such as journaling, meditation, or creative expression. And finally, breaking free requires patience. Healing is not a linear process, and there will be moments when you feel tempted to fall back into old patterns. But every time you choose yourself, every time you honor your worth, every time you say no to what doesn't serve you, you strengthen your capacity for love, not just for others, but for yourself. This rebellion is not easy, but it is worth it. Because the truth is, the partners we choose are not just a reflection of our wounds, they are also a reflection of our potential. And when we break free from the patterns that have kept us trapped, we open ourselves to the possibility of a love that is not just fulfilling, but transformative.